Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Jack the Lad podcast. On today's episode, we've got on Joe McTernan, and welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, good. I'm very good. Should I feel like I've already ruined this. We discussed that I should say
It's
who
fine.
I am.
Yeah, you
And
just
I
say,
haven't
hi,
done
I'm
that.
Joe.
Well, hello, I'm Joe McTernan, comedian, actor, and ex-pole dancing champion.
Oh, nice. What sort of a pole?
Was that a good intro?
You know, that was fine.
That was
yeah.
all right. I think I smashed that.
It was. It got off the blocks, I suppose. We got off the line.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much
to start. I like to
go on.
I just like to start everything off as awkwardly as I can.
At least you set it up, and it can only go uphill from here.
Exactly. I agree.
So thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
You're very welcome.
Without yourself and people like you, I couldn't do this. So thank you very much. I came across you on Instagram, as I do for the majority of my guests. And
slipped into my DMs.
I certainly did. And it was the reel that I came across was your aliens and alcohol.
Yes.
Aliens landing.
Seems to be the most popular one that I've done, which is kind of funny because it's the one where I'm painted pink with tinfoil on my head.
Yeah, and I've noticed you do quite a lot of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I tend to. More recently, I really enjoy dressing up for sketches, which is so funny because I absolutely cannot stand like dressing up for Halloween. You know, if there's a Halloween party and everybody loves, I'm like, no, I'm not. But then in my house by myself at 2 p.m, I'll dress as a banana, easy, and film something. But yeah, no, I love dressing up for the sketches, which is kind of weirdly how most of them start. It doesn't even start with a concept. Like my most recent one, I play a Christmas tree, and I made this costume out of green card, and I didn't even have an idea. I just wanted to dress up as a Christmas tree. And I thought, then the idea will come later.
Is that how most of yours happen? Is it you come up with a costume and then think of what the premise will be?
Sometimes usually that happens when I'm having a bit of a writer's block and I just cannot, because I'm trying to do a sketch every week and it's so hard sometimes because I just can't think of anything some weeks. So then my brain for some reason then ends up going, well, just think of what would visually look quite funny. So if someone saw me dressed as a Christmas tree, that's quite funny, hopefully, in itself. Other times, like the alien one, that was based, like, because me and my partner had been sitting talking, we were really hungover one morning, and I was like, why are we doing this to ourselves? And we sort of say, imagine trying to explain that to someone else. It would just be like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's kind of where that came from. And then just obviously, I didn't know that's how I was going to look as the alien. But we just kind of, my girlfriend used to do a lot of sort of makeup stuff, and she used to do some on-set makeup stuff. So she's always got loads of paints and things lying around the house. So she takes great joy. Oh, used to take great joy, I think, in painting me. And now it's like every week I'm like, can you paint me green? Because I want to be a Christmas tree. And she's a nurse as well. So you can imagine how bad that makes me feel when she's leaving to help people in their lives. And I'm just like, sticking baubles on myself with sellotape. It's quite concerning, isn't it?
It is, but you're doing your part for people in your own way.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting you say that. I genuinely cannot believe the amount of people that will message and say things like, oh, this really, I do a lot of mental health sketches, and a lot of people will message and say, I can't believe, this, that I found something that I can really relate to. And I just never thought that would be a reaction. I get it when someone's a nurse, they're actually helping people, but you never think that as a comedian. I think it's quite a, I don't know, it's quite a, uppity thing to say, like, oh, I'm saving the world with my laughter. It's like, I just think it's so bizarre that people really kind of engage with that kind of stuff. And it's a lovely feeling when someone messages and says, oh, this made my morning and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I just find it bananas to me. I just think it's an amazing feeling, but it's not something I never thought I was doing anything that important, really. I just didn't want a normal job,
Yeah.
So
well, they say laughter's the best medicine.
So they say. I mean, I always think medicine's the best medicine, but
yeah. Well, see, that's where me and you differ then, because I tend to not take anything. I'm one of these ignore it until it stops hurting, really.
Oh, I'm the same, and it's well, as I say, my partner's like this as well. But she's, for a nurse, she is the worst patient. She will sit in pain for 2 weeks before she'll go and do anything about it. And I've always been really bad for that. I will not go to the doctors for anything. I just always think it'll pass.
Yeah.
For some reason. I'm not even scared of them. I think, do you ever get the feeling like you don't like wasting like the doctor's time? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you think, if I go in and I've got like something, it's just a rash, I can just get the cream for that myself or whatever.
I'm at a completely different level to everyone. I left the military over 4 years ago and I still haven't registered with a GP.
Really? I think I've had the same one for ages, and I just never. I don't know the last time I was at the doctor's.
I never go.
No,
I literally never go. I just if I get a headache, I just have a bit more water. Go on.
So when would you go then? When would be like, what would need to happen to you to think I should go to the doctor's?
I think the last time I went to the doctors, I put a knife through my foot.
So I would go on that.
Yeah, I think like physical injury is where I'm like, right, I need to go and see someone about this. I was
put a knife in your own foot?
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you the story, and this is a first for the podcast as well. So I was barefoot in the kitchen chopping up. I think I was making chicken sandwiches from like real chicken. So I was carving, like taking the chicken up. Well, I don't think so. I think it was a £4 one from Morrison's, but I was cutting it, and this is when I was with my now ex. We've got these like non-slip cutting boards, and I pulled it towards me to pull it closer. The knife was on there, and obviously because they're the non-slip ones, it suddenly stopped. The knife didn't. Yeah. The knife just carried on sliding on the chopping board. No, the knife was not a non-slip, and it was the pretty chunky one. I don't know what it's called, like the proper knife that you get in there. And
the big one, the boss knife in the middle.
Yeah, and it slipped, span, and landed straight onto my foot, and it immediately just went, and it sliced down like on the inside, like just above the arch.
Oh God!
So I was like, babe, like the knife's just gone through my foot. So she's like, has it? And so I turned around, put it down, and because of the pressure of my foot, it like squirted like the blood out. So she started freaking out. I said, just grab me a towel, like, I'll wrap it up. It wasn't that. It's only probably, I don't know, 1.5 inches, 2 inch cut. And I knew that we'd be waiting. I was like, we'll go up to 8 till 8. I know we're going to be waiting up there a few hours because you always are. So I told her to carry on prepping the sandwiches. I said, finish making them, then we'll go up because it's lunchtime and I'm fucking starving.
I was going to ask, did you have the chicken sandwiches still?
Yeah. She finished making them. She was just like, I can't believe I'm making these and you've got blood pissing out your foot.
Now, I don't know if this is tomato sauce or not, but we're going to risk it.
Yeah, why not? Wow. So, I think that was the last time I went, and that was a good while ago.
I don't think I've ever had anything as bad as that, like stabbing myself or anything like that. I don't think I have. I've never broken anything either. Just hearts.
That's well, I wasn't going to say it. I've broke a few. So how did your online sketches start? Like where did it all come from, or I suppose the start of the journey in general?
Well, so it's kind of funny because I've had a bit of a a weird change in career quite a lot, but within the same sort of industry. So when I left school, I did film and photography at university when I was 18, which is a long time ago now.
I was going to say, it only looks like a couple of years
ago. 31 now. So that would have been, Jesus, 13 years ago. Scary, man. That's scary. But yeah, I started doing filming, and we had a little film company, and we used to film a lot of stand-up gigs. And I used to watch them, and I always wanted to be an actor from when I was a kid, but I had no like confidence to do it, and I just always presumed that I would always be the guy that would be behind the scenes of things. Like I even wanted to be an animator. I used to love Wallace and Gromit and that kind of claymation animation stuff, and I just always thought that's what I would do. And it was just because I was watching a lot of stand up, I was sitting at the back of the rooms going, I really want to do this. Like there's something in me that wants to do it. And I pushed it so much longer than that. And I think I didn't really start stand up until I was about 25, which is quite late in the game, because there's stand ups now in my industry that are 18 and they're starting, and I'm like, you pieces of shit, how dare you start so young? Because I just think they'll be the best comedians by the time they're my age, because that's such a lift. They keep at it. That's like 12 years. So my friend Jojo Sutherland, who's a comedian, very well respected comedian in Scotland, she was doing a comedy course, and had said to me, why don't you come and do this comedy course? You get 5 minutes on stage at a Monkey Barrel Comedy Club in Edinburgh. And she sort of framed it as if, I was doing her a favor. Like, she's like, I've just got a couple of spaces to fill, so if you could come and do it, you're doing me a big favor. But I was friends with a lot of comedians because I'd filmed a lot of them. And I think there was a lot of people that were like, you were the only one that knew you weren't going to be doing stand-up. Like, we knew that that's what you wanted to do. And when I started stand-up, my first gig went pretty well, which now, I mean, I look back now, I probably died my arse, but at the time, it felt like I got through whatever it was I was trying to get through. And it changed my life. Something inside me just went, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then started doing that. And then, sorry, this is the longest answer to such a simple question.
No, this is perfect. This is exactly what a podcast is about. If it was, if it was a TV show news thing, you get 3 minutes actually done.
Exactly.
This is perfect. Perfect.
But yeah, so I obviously had the skills from doing filming and stuff, but never. I tried to do a couple of sort of bigger projects where I filmed a little online sitcom with a couple of comedians, and we filmed this 6-episode thing and put it on YouTube. But it was always things like that. It was always these like big ideas. It was like, so I did like a pilot for a sketch show and pitched it around and filmed the whole bloody thing for some reason. And it's so annoying because one of the commissioners said to me, we're not going to take this, but we like it. But the thing is, you've went too far with it. You've gave us a whole bloody pilot where you should just film 2 sketches and a general idea of where you want to go with it, so we can get involved and see if it's something that we can produce and stuff. So I used to always do that. But never did anything online because I was absolutely terrified of what people would think. So you kind of worry about what other comedians might think. Because, if you die in your arse at a gig, people go, well, that happens. But if you put a really terrible sketch out, it's there. And if you don't realize how bad it is, this is my thing, I might have put something out and not realized how bad it was. I was terrified of it for so long. And then then the lockdown hit, and I had absolutely lost every single piece of work that I obviously had, and thought I better start doing something. So I started filming with my friend Gareth, who's a comedian, Gareth Much, and he and I sat and just sort of filmed every week because we were in the same bubble in terms of households and stuff. So he used to come over quite a lot, and we just started filming these silly little videos, and I just got really addicted to it, and I really enjoyed I actually really enjoyed the idea of a video doing well. So if you got one that was like, oh god, that's got 500 more views than the last one or anything, so it become quite addictive. And yeah, so I just kept going, and obviously built my technology up and got better cameras and got a green screen, and just got to the point that I just kind of tried to do it weekly, which was I've not always kept at, and that's one thing. If I'm maybe a bit depressed or something, I ended up used to go off it, and I wouldn't film anything for 2 months. Because I used to think, oh, I'm posting too much. That's why, because you're relying on your friends when you start doing this to retweet you or share the sketch. But if you're putting one out every 3 days, people are like, I'm sure they're like, I've just seen this guy. Do you know what I mean? I wish he'd stop bloody posting all the time. But what I found, and more recently, I think the reason that I did get a couple that went viral was because I just kept at it like every week, even if I was getting a really bad reaction, or like not a reaction, but like a bad sort of figures or views. I just forgot about it and moved on to the next one. And that was the best thing I did. And yeah, so then cut to now, and just over the last few, I went from I think I had about 1,300 followers on Instagram, and I've got about 30,000 now, just within 3 weeks, which has been surreal, because it feels like I kind of nearly gave up on Instagram, to be honest. TikTok was always a bit better, but Insta, I just couldn't break it. And then all of a sudden I just did, and it's just been amazing. And it kind of, it's something that it keeps me sane doing them every week, because I've got my gigs at the weekend, obviously, as a stand-up, and it's nice to have, because comedians don't do anything Monday to Thursday. We just sit in our pants eating crisps. So it's good to have something else, Does that answer your question, Jack?
It certainly does. We're getting there. We're on the right track. I felt
like I droned on there. I apologise to anyone listening there. That was a very long.
Back in my day when I started filmmaking, let me tell you.
Right. So I picked up a couple of things then. I was jotting down while you were chatting. On your first ever stand-up, the first time you were on stage, do you remember your first joke?
I do. And I'm quite embarrassed by it, because I used a prop as well. And I'm okay swearing on this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's
right.
Fine.
I bought a joke book that was like how to write comedy. And I used to start off my set, and I went out with the book, opened the book, started reading, and just went to the audience, "You're all dickheads," and then closed the book. And I thought that would be funny, because I'm like that. Like, this book's obviously got bad advice, but it never worked, and it was so annoying, because I had this book with me. I used to carry it with me in my back jean pocket, and I did that so many times on my first 10 gigs, and I don't ever think it ever got a big laugh, but it was all I had. I had another few jokes, but it was filth. And I don't know if there's any other comedians that faced this, but for some reason, your brain just always goes to dirty first. Every joke I had, and I'm not really like that in my stand-up or my sketches at all, but for some reason, everything was some sort of mucky joke that, and because it's an easy laugh, and an audience will kind of laugh at a dirtier joke, because it's a kind of like, oh, he said something shocking, but it's not shocking. It isn't really. I think it's the audience laugh out of nervousness, going, oh god, it's talking about his balls. Oh, better laugh. So yeah, that's kind of what my first stuff was kind of like. But the thing is, my on stage thing, I'm quite high energy on stage, and I used to really love comedians like Lee Evans was just one of the biggest inspirations. Billy Connolly, these big, characters on stage, Joan Rivers, just these absolute, just absolute machines on stage. And I used to love that kind of energy. And it was always more about that for me. So my joke writing was probably quite bad when I started, but my stage presence was, I think, a lot better. And sometimes you'll get this with comedians. It's like sometimes you'll get really amazing writers, but their stage presence takes a bit longer. So even, because that's the thing, even the best jokes in the world, sometimes if you don't deliver them right, they just fall flat. And I've said this to a lot of newer comics, I'm like, just sell everything you're doing like you think this is the best joke you've ever written, because I was saying this, there's something about tone of voice. You know, when you see like these sort of like president speeches and stuff, and the way they say things, it makes people clap and cheer, but they could be saying anything. But because they do it in that tone, you think, oh, this is amazing. So he's like, because you could get the president going, oh, there's a squirrel over there. And that's the thing about squirrels, they're always there. And people go, oh my God, yes, squirrels are there.
I nearly clapped then, to be honest.
It's like, and it's kind of, I don't know if I kind of feel that that's what stand-up's like. If you sell a joke in this sort of weird cadence, it just feels like, oh, that's funny. And I think that was always a thing for me, was trying to get better at writing, but it was always about this sort of energy that I brought to it that I quite liked. And I think I got away with a lot of bad jokes and bad writing because my stage presence was maybe a little bit more high and sort of energetic, I suppose. But yeah, so that was my
on
first
that then. While we're on the lines of jokes, how often do you write a joke out? You run it through, and then you read it. I don't know your process, but you're reading it, and you're like, actually, that's too much. Or do you always sort of try it, and then you're like, nah, actually, that's.
I will always try a joke sort of 3 or 4 times, and if it does, this is the big thing. You get that advice as a comedian, it's like, oh, try it the first 4 times, and if it doesn't work, then it's not good, right? But the problem is you've got to change it each time. I see so many comedians sometimes, like, they're trying, this bit's still not working. You're like, yeah, because you haven't changed it, or the way that you're saying. You have to change the damn joke, I suppose, to make it funnier. But I'll tend to do it 3 or 4 times, but I used to start by writing everything down on a Word document, and I stopped doing that because it sort of felt like I was reading a script on stage, and I had these locked in lines. Whereas now, and I think when you gig a lot as well, it's like learning lyrics. You just remember. Like, I don't need to look at my notes anymore. When I started, you'd see me in the green room with my pad up, reading everything, trying to remember it. And now I just trust that I can remember it now, whereas before I couldn't do that. But yeah, so I'll basically I'll do it 3 or 4 times, and if it doesn't work, then it's probably a bad joke. Whereas other times I have seen me doing a new bit, and there's no better feeling than when you've written a new bit and it works the first time. And it might not be perfect, but you go, right, I've hit something. And it's not about even the joke. It's just sometimes a relatability that you feel in the room, I think, when you see sort of an audience react, you think, I think I found something that people are getting here. Sometimes that'll happen, and then you'll do it the second time and it won't work. And you can never make the joke work again. And you're like, but why did it do so well the first time I did it? But there's just something that I don't know and I should really record myself. I'm really bad for that. But if I recorded everything I did, I could maybe detect, oh, that's why that got a laugh, because you said it this way, or that was the line you said. But sometimes, they just don't work again. And it's really strange and quite upsetting, to be honest. But yeah.
So how many hours a week do you put into sort of your joke writing and all that?
I will do. So my sort of general week now is I'll gig on the Friday and Saturday, usually traveling back from somewhere on the Sunday. Don't get into quite late on Sunday usually. I don't take the Monday off, but I just have a chill day on Monday where I sort of will have my pad next to me. And if anything hits me, I'll write it down, but I don't pressure myself to do it. So I'll just be cleaning up the house, or, just watching some stuff, playing on my computer or something. Whereas Tuesday's writing day, where I will sit and try and force myself to write stuff, which can be really bad because sometimes you just can't think of anything. And I've just sat with a blank pad with nothing on it for a whole day. But so yeah, I'll give it the Tuesday. Usually I'm filming on Wednesday, so I'm obviously trying to write my sketch. And the stand-up, I probably don't write as much as I should. I think I'm putting more work into my sketches at the moment, but I've got my 20 set that's working in a club, and but I need to write my show for next year's Fringe now. So I need an hour of material. And so what I'll usually do is wait until about a month before the Fringe. And then, because I'm really bad for that, my girlfriend always says that I'm really good with a deadline. Like, you could give me 4 months to do something and I will leave it to the last week. Absolutely. And I'll do it. I'll manage to bring something together, but you could give me all the time in the world and I won't do it. I'll always do it on the night before, and I've done that my whole life. And I don't know why I do it to myself, because it's really stressful, but it's just the way I kind of do things. So yeah, I only really probably give myself 1 day a solid writing a week, I would say.
When you do that, just want to jump in there quickly, just interject. When you say, obviously, if you've got all the time in the world, you wait until the last sort of week to do it.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like that, but I've been trying to sort of get this installed into my daughter quite a lot. She's 12 now, but she's very intelligent and she's sort of planned out what she wants to do for the future. But I've said to her to make sure she does her homework the day she gets it, because then she's got every day after that to look back at it to perfect it. Would you not think that would work better for yourself if you gave yourself in your head that deadline and then every so often?
100%. So a good example of that was this week. I was filming that Christmas tree sketch, and after I'd filmed it, I thought about 4 jokes that I should have put in when I was editing it. And the reason that happened is because I left it until Tuesday night / Wednesday morning to really solidify the script for it. But then I've got, but I have to film Wednesday or I would never get it out on a Thursday morning. So that's happens to me all the time. So I'm going to try that this week. I know what I'm doing next week for my sketch. I've got the idea. I just need to write the lines now on it. If I start that tomorrow, I'm going to get the train to Bolton tomorrow. I should use that time and sit and write all the lines. Will I? Probably not, but I should. And you're right. It would be a better, but I'm trying to do this for my whole life. It's funny that you've brought that up. This is kind of what my show's going to be about next year at the Fringe. I've recently tried to change my mental state a little bit, because I think it's easy to put so much blame on everything else when things aren't working out. And I've noticed that. So it's just stupid stuff. Like, when I get up in the morning, I make sure, like, I don't go to the gym, but I'll do like Joe Wicks's indoor exercises and things like that, right? These ab workout. I've been doing it for a couple of years, no abs. So false advertising, wiki boy. But so I do those. And it's things like, and I've actually started noting them down on a piece of paper. And it's this thing that I'm trying to do, which is like, even if it's insignificantly small, the thing you have to do. Because I used to suffer from really bad depression. Like, I had a really bad bout of depression for like 2 years. And I didn't realize it at the time. But when you come out of it, you go, Jesus, I should have known what I was doing there. So now what I do is I make myself this little list. And it's stupid things like, do the dishes that are in the kitchen still, even if it's 2 mugs to wash.
Yeah. Do
your exercises, go for a shower, drink water. That is the biggest one. I cannot believe how much better I feel. And I know people always say this stuff and you always go, oh, shut up. But it's true. By drinking water, you just feel better. You've got to get over that hump of the first sort of 4 days, just constantly needing to piss. That's why I never stick at it. Because I'm like, how do people do this? It's impossible. But then it's like your body does level out at some point, and I just feel better. And it's little things like this. So I've been trying to do this a lot in my life, and it's kind of what my show is going to be about. It's just changing your mindset. It starts with you, right? Or your life 100%. Just won't get better. I think you put so much reliability on everybody else or everything else, So I hate traveling, and see if someone like picks up their phone on the train and start having you never hear somebody like a really loud conversation. And I was saying that to Barbara the other day, and I go, what are you doing? Like, there's another 80 people on this bloody train, and you're having this like really loud conversation. And I'll sit and I cannot concentrate because I'm getting so annoyed that this person's doing that. Now, that's not her fault. That is a normal human being having a phone call, yet in my head, it's like a volcano. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of this thing that I'm like trying to realize that that's me and whatever anxiety or stress that I'm having. And it's trying to I don't know, like just like look at it in myself first and go calm the fuck down. Do you know what I mean? It's not anyone else's fault. And it's really worked. I don't know if you've tried anything like this yourself, but when you take a little bit of control over your life, but you would have had this surely being in the military. This is what that's all about, right? Is get up and make your bed first thing. And
that's a forced thing, though. You're told that you have to do that. It's not by choice. This is how the military runs. So this is what you do. Otherwise, see you later, fella. But yeah, no, I'm sort of the same with this. I mean, the people that listen to this podcast will have heard this 100 times, so I apologise. But it's one of the reasons I did a triathlon a few months ago, about 6 months ago. Because once I started doing this podcast, I started talking to a lot of people, athletes and stuff like that. And I had a bit of sort of imposter syndrome. And I was like, I'm interviewing all these, amazing people. And some people, I've spoke about my past in the military and stuff in a couple of episodes. And people have come to me and said, like, your story is quite interesting with all the stuff that you did, like my football and snowboarding and stuff like that. Like I didn't really wear greens for like the first sort of 2 years of being in the military because I was just playing football all the time. And it's like that side of it where people are always like, oh, I didn't realise that's what, that you could do that in the military. But yeah, since doing the podcast, but due to that, I was like, I need to get myself sorted because I was touching nearly 18 stone. So I was like, I need to get this in check because I'm interviewing all these amazing people that are all slim down racing snakes. And I interviewed a lad that I used
Jack.
I used to be at school with. He's a vegan bodybuilder, and I was just like, I need to sort this out.
I just stabbed myself in the foot making sandwiches.
Yeah, he wasn't bothered because it was chicken.
Which is actually good for protein, building you up. So.
So recently I have, and I go to the gym now nearly every day, and sort of watch what I eat and all the rest of it. So, yeah.
It's a great thing when it's really annoying, but I think as human beings, we absolutely need structure. And I think anybody that doesn't think that's just doesn't realize how much helpful. I think we need it. And I think self-structure is a good thing.
Yeah.
Where you give yourself your own, because the thing is, I was saying this the other day, if you do this every morning, if you get everything done you need to do by 10:30, and I mean like exercise, dishes, put a washing on, go to the shops, because you need to get something for the dinner later. You can get everything done by like 10:30, 11 o'clock. The rest of the day will just feel better, because even if you don't achieve anything, this is how I feel anyway, because there will be some days that I set out to write a new sketch and it doesn't happen. But my God, the depression that kicks in when you also realize, and I didn't do any of the other stuff that I could have done today. Yeah, if you start the day off and you go, well, at least I exercised, at least, I've drank enough water today. I went for a walk, went to the shops and got that thing I needed. The day's not wasted completely. And I think life really is, for me now, is more about those little things and achieving them each day to make me mentally feel a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like I should be paying you like this is like psychiatry.
No, it's fine. This is brilliant.
I do see, this is it. I feel so self-conscious. I always feel that when people think comedians are coming on, I feel like, oh yeah, you're not being funny, Joe. You're just being really boring. It's sad.
No, it's fine. This is exactly what this is about. Obviously, getting to know you and your story and the background and all of that sort of good stuff. And on that note, it's sadly time to end this episode. So do you want to tell everyone your Instagram tags and YouTube or whatever you've got?
Yeah, well, I just type in Joe McTernan on all your available social media apps and you'll find me, because I don't think there is any other people named that name that I know of. But yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Very good England there.
I live in Edinburgh, so you can, sure, if you wander about for long enough, you'll see me in Lidl as well.
Nice. All right. Well, tune in next week, everyone, and see you later, Joe.
Bye. Thanks so much, mate.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.